Good
Hello,
morning.
darling. How are you?
Morning.
Oh, isn't it flying by? Another week already, and here we are.
I know.
Can't
But
believe
you know
it's
what?
you.
I am wishing January away. I don't know about you. I'm
Yeah, and
wishing it
February.
away. I can't wait. And then
I know.
February is quite small, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes,
February.
it's shorter by 2 or 3
Yeah,
days,
and then
isn't it?
it's March. So
Yeah.
by then,
Oh,
we
that's,
have our world
that's the rub about this thing, isn't it? We're constantly wishing our lives away, which
oh
is
God, yes.
such a waste of time.
Yeah, I
I
know.
introduce you to a friend of mine. I'm not sure whether you can see her, but I'm not alone this morning. I've just noticed she's right behind me. I'd like to introduce you to Champagne Fanny.
There's no answer to that, darling. I never thought I'd hear those words come out of your mouth.
This is a little something I picked up at a gallery in Marylebone many years ago. And it's a lady straddling a champagne bottle in fishnets.
Well, I know a few people who have done that.
Well, I mean,
I'd love to see that.
It's like Debbie's with us, even though she can't be with us today.
Yes, so she really is, isn't she? That's right. Oh my God. And normally we'd be booking our holidays now, wouldn't we, guys?
Oh dear.
Well,
What's a holiday?
Our wings are clipped, and we need to treasure the moments we have in this jewel in a silver sea we call home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have to make the most of our homespun adventures, ladies.
Yes.
Homespun adventures.
Homespun adventures.
Hey, listen, I
remember
remember when I was a little kid, my mum, who was something else, so she used to she traveled to Spain for the first time in the 50s. And she was like me. This is where I get this dreadful thing from, obsession for cars. So she had an obsession, and we had a big, you won't know this because you're all too young, a big pink and white Cresta, because she was into American cars, very long with great big wings on the back of it. A red and white Cresta it was called. And she drove me and my brother from England to Spain in the 50s. Now, if you think of that then, that was extraordinary. We arrived in these little villages with this great big American pink and white Cresta, and all the children would follow us. And everybody would be in awe because they thought she was a film star. And we went to a place called Tossa de Mar. Tossa de Mar then was a little village, and there was a hotel right on the beach where Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner made, and I can't remember the name of the film, it's gone out of my mind, but they're one of their first films. It was very, very famous. And my mother pretended to be Ava Gardner. I always remember that. Everybody thought she was. And we all were followed everywhere. So that's my first memory of a holiday, driving and then back over those bloody mountains all the way back.
What an amazing memory, darling.
So my childhood holidays, I've mentioned this before to you ladies many shows ago, but I think I would have flagged up the fact that I didn't take a flight until I was about 20 years old, and that was 1990, going over to Amsterdam to study. And before that, summer holidays were always spent on the Isle of Wight or in Bournemouth, Weymouth, or even a static caravan in Lyme Regis, and just once, I believe, Butlins in Bognor. And there's lots of pictures of me with very, very blonde hair, a huge head for my body. We've laboured that point often enough on the show. Basically, I always seem to be on my own in these pictures because I am an only child, and I'd be, sat on some tiny, railway for kids or on some sort of ride. Or there's a lovely picture of me. My dad had made a speedboat out of sand in the sea. And I remember as I gradually ripened in age and not quite entering the perils of pubescence because I was up in Scotland by that point. But nevertheless, I think we were approaching double digits, and we stayed in a hotel on the Isle of Wight, and I was in the single bed. My parents had the double, we were all bunking into the same room together, and it had plastic sheets. Just in case the child in the room had a little accident. So not quite as glamorous as a Cresta run all the way to the costume by Sharia Moore. That was the summer. But it's funny, isn't it? Because childhood summers, regardless of the view, if you're lucky enough to say they were magical and you've got the fondest of memories of it, then it doesn't matter whether you were soaring off to foreign climes, or whether you were just having a fly and flop at home. And I do remember them. I do remember them hugely fondly. But the pictures, when you look back on them, are
shocker.
solitary. Apart from one gorgeous time with my cousins, and we were wearing Mickey Mouse life jackets, which I thought was fantastic. I was sat on my dad's lap. He looked like a cross between Sid James and Dudley Moore, big mop of hair. And it's a picture I cherish. And we went to the Norfolk Broads, on one of those narrow boats, and it was absolutely spectacular. Okay, right, one more.
Okay.
So my Uncle Roy, God rest his soul, he's up there on a damp cloud, rolling his own, and probably sat on a toilet in God's company doing the miracle. He used to drive a bus for Hanson Dorset. And so he took the bus one day, and the whole family got on the bus. And I remember it fondly because you got Uncle Roy up front, steering the motor. Everyone's singing all sorts of sea shanties or songs or something like that in the back. And I remember it's the first time that I ever tasted, my cousin Fiona and I ever tasted a slush puppy. And we'd never seen sort of fluorescent drinks up until that point.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola from a bottle on a swing at the Royal Oak on a Sunday roast dinner. So the slush puppy, and it was the stuff of dreams. It was magical. That we'd be so easily pleased now, and I would be actually if there was a shot of clear liquor in it.
There you go. Perfect.
Can I just tell you one story, because you've just reminded me about that little train. So my mum took me on holiday. My mum was very glamorous. She was a model. And she took me on holiday because my brother was at boarding school. And she was very beautiful and very glamorous. I remember to this place. And she said, "Oh, go and get on that train." And she met a young guy. And I remember looking for the train and her going, "Oh, hello." And she was talking to him. She paid the train driver for me to stay on it. And I went round and round and round and round. And you can imagine this little girl go, "Can I get off now?" No. Round and round. And I'm still walking up with him. And I just sat there going round and around 50 times until the engine driver said, "You've got to get off now."
That's so funny.
That's so funny.
My early memories of holidays were, my great grandma lived in Bournemouth, and we used to go and visit her. And we'd be on the beach in Bournemouth. And again, I was very little, but it was having the ice cream on the beach, was the most exciting thing, to have one of those. I mean, nowadays with a million flavors and Haagen-Dazs, which has, changed my life, not for the better. But it was the most wonderful thing. And I also remember my mum was doing a movie in Italy, and we got a train overnight. It wasn't the Santa, no, I'm talking bollocks, not the Santa Fe Chief. Ignore me. Cut, edit the fuck out of that. What was the one? The express that goes to Venice? The Orient Express.
Yes. Orient.
Thank you, darling. It wasn't the Orient Express, but it was a night train, and we went through Switzerland.
Wow.
I remember in the middle of the night looking and seeing this beautiful lake, and then the mist on the lake, and then again just going through France and Switzerland, and then coming to Italy, which was kind of sunny, and it was just amazing. It was so exciting. Those journeys, it wasn't a glamorous train journey, but it was, to me, it was the most magical experience.
Well, it was an adventure. Yeah. I mean, exactly, because I remember we always used to have a fight in my family about Christmas, who would go to which parents, and grandparents, whatever. So we all decided, well, I didn't, I was very young, I was about 16, and I had my half sisters, as well, who used to come for Christmas. So my parents decided to take us all to Cornwall for Christmas, and all the family were horrified going away for Christmas in those days. But we all went off to this hotel, gorgeous hotel, and we'd never stayed in a beautiful big hotel like this before. And there was a medical student who was a waiter, who I actually, linked up with. Anyway, and it was really fun and everything. And my stepsister was like, my half sister was like, "You must be joking," Anyway, so we went out one night and came back, and we both were very drunk, and he was very drunk, and I didn't realize, but he didn't make it home, and he was living nearby, and actually he was sleepy. He slept in one of the bathrooms in the hotel. Anyway, I got into my bed. Suddenly my mother comes rushing into the room, looks under the bed, in the bathroom, in the wardrobe, and then says, "Oh, good night, girls, good night." Unbeknown to me, the owner of the hotel had phoned my father and said, "I think it's my duty to tell you that there's a waiter in your daughter's room." And
No.
Yeah. And my mother, and so he panicked and said, quick, go and see, as if I would with my two half sisters anyway. But, I was very young. And what had happened, this poor guy had fallen asleep, had gone to sleep in one of the baths, had sort of got loads of cushions and stuff. And so the next morning, everyone in the hotel were looking at us thinking, that little floozy over there.
No.
Yes, it's absolutely true.
And I can't imagine Richard ever being a floozy.
No, heaven forfend.
Oh no, he's definitely
Heaven
not
forbid.
a floozy. No,
Never.
he's definitely not.
Never be caught having a knee tremble.
No. But
Did you have holiday romances though, Richard? No.
No. It's interesting. But speaking of romance, train journeys apparently are coming back. That's sort of.
I love a train journey.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is magical.
But they are magical, and you're just rolling through the countryside. Because remember when I left school, it was all Euro railing, wasn't it? So you'd be given whenever an international rail card, and you take yourself off. And it was the most spectacular adventure. I did fuse. I did fuse a Ponzione once, so to speak.
Excuse me. What are you saying, sir?
Yeah, I did. And two of us, me and another bloke, were sharing a room. He was a lodger, and we were in the same digs at university. And I'd taken the hairdryer. I mean, you're packing things to go away Euro railing, and I'd taken the hairdryer and plugged it in to, give it a little bit of a tickle, and the weave, that is. And I blew the fuses in the board. And I do remember the guy knocking on the door, and it was, you can imagine, we couldn't afford anything really, but you don't worry about it back then, do you? A little dirt on your fingernails, a little dust around the skirting board. So the chap knocked on the door and came to the door, and he sort of took one look at us, assumed incorrectly, obviously, but clearly knew it was my good self and my diffuser that had wiped out the... I loved Euro railing. I loved all of that. Spectacular journeys. And apparently I was reading this week that apparently, rattlers, like that.
I love a train. Do you know, once when I was on Loose, they did a French Sherry man. So they decided to send me with this man on the Orient Express. So we got to Victoria. I don't know if you've ever been on the Orient, but the train is fabulous. Yes. And they gave me the ticket, got on board. We drove to Clapham and came back.
What? Devastating.
It's when
devastating.
Those trips are back. They take you and you sort of rattle along, and just for a moment you take yourself off, and the age of Poirot, and rattlers in the 1930s with plush velvet trimmings and Art Deco glasses, and you end up being shunted like.
Then it said Clapham Junction. I went,
Well, Sherry, you would have found a man there, darling, because it's the busiest railway junction in Europe, isn't it?
Exactly.
There you go.
Yes, they gave me a man to go with, but it didn't work out.
At least you would have increased your odds. I was lucky enough to take Mum on the Orient Express on a press trip a little bit further, which is the Orient Express DVD release, the Kenneth Branagh.
If I could wave a magic wand now, where would you go?
Do you know what? In all honesty, I would take my other half, who's Australian, as you know. We'd go to Australia, because right now it's feeling like a long, long way away. So yes, I would. Yes. It would be a reunion down under with our family. That
lovely.
Whereabouts in Australia? Dee, where would you go?
Dee, where would you go?
Oh, where would I go? I'm not sure actually. I probably would go to Butlins. No.
Where?
Well, I honestly. This is really weird, but I went to Butlins about 12 years ago with my husband, the one who died, because a friend of his was in the Drifters, and we went to see them and in Skegness, and I had the best weekend ever. And as you drive in, the redcoats all waved to you, and we were staying, and we could. It was really packed, so we stayed in budget Butlins, which is. Not even in the sort of budget Butlins. So you're
going to budget Butlins for your
budget Butlins we had the best time ever.
Brilliant.
It was just brilliant, and we had such a laugh. It's probably because of the people we were with, but yeah, I'd relive that again. Budget violin.
Perfect. Sherry, what about you, darling?
Well, apart from going back to Benidorm, which of course I would, I've always wanted to go to Hawaii because apparently that is heaven on earth. I don't know anybody who's been to Hawaii. Have you been to Hawaii?
No.
Richard?
No.
See, that's apparently you've died and gone to heaven when you go to Hawaii. So I think I would come for Hawaii, apart from New York, because I love you, New York. But anyway.
Yeah.
But then Benidorm, you see, I love Benidorm. So there you go.
Stop talking about
Harriet, where are you going?
No,
where are you
stop.
off to?
Well, yeah.
Just stop talking about every television show you've been on, please.
Well, I can't help it. There's so many.
Where does your mum like going, Richard?
Oh, Mum. Yeah, I mean, she absolutely loved it when we got to take her to Australia, one and only time. It was a proper trip of a lifetime. She loved Scotland because we had such a fun time growing up there. So we'd like to, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? We haven't been able to go to Scotland, obviously, since last March, and normally we'd be regulars up there. So we'd like to do that. To be quite honest, at this stage in the game, like I said before, it's not the view that matters, it's the company that you keep.
Absolutely.
And at that point in the morning where I'm delighted to say I've reached low battery and it's 7%, speaking of the company I keep. So all of us here, Champagne Fanny and my good self, bon voyage, bird.
Bon voyage.
I didn't even get to say why I wanted to go.
Go on, Harriet. We've got the
Go
floor.
on, then.
Quick, Harriet, because we'll act as if we're interested. Go on.
That'll break a habit of a lifetime. Anyway, no, do you know what? On point, I'm not actually going to tell you. You'll have to not ever know.
Oh, good.
So
Anyway, bye then.
No, you know what I'm going to do, Sherry? I'm going to go on a holiday with you and talk to you the whole time. There you are. Bye.
Okay.